Hey guys, welcome back to my channel here. It's Lavender here, and today, comrades, I'm back with another true crime case. Today I want to do the true crime case of the murder of Queenie Hart, unsolved due to pure racism against black Aboriginal Australians. So let's get started into this video. So when it comes to media and TV, I've only ever seen this case online in a newspaper article online. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I really feel like this is an act of pure racism, like hate crime and justice, and it's all based on a race why this wasn't solved. It could have literally been solved, but it was unsolved because she is a black Aboriginal Australian woman. So let's get started into this story. So the family of Queenie Hart were for years denied justice by a legal system in Australia that viewed black Aboriginal women as disposable and their deaths not worthy of justice or grief or justice as a whole. They thought that, Aboriginal women and Aboriginal people as a whole didn't deserve any justice. So this is the background of the victim herself. Queenie Hart. Queenie Hart, like many residents of her Aboriginal area, wanted to be free. She had been born under the weight of the oppressive Aboriginal Protection Act, where the lives of residents were so tightly controlled that the language referred to them as inmates. Queenie found traces of freedom with her families and friends in the area in the songs they would sing at night underneath the trees and the stars. Queenie was described as a quiet and never cheeky by her childhood friend growing up. Queenie's mother had instilled in her a love of fashion, and she was always well dressed. She would take the tracings of tar off the stove and make the beauty spot mark by her mouth more predominant. She would use it to blacken her eyebrows as well with her beauty routine. As a teenager, Queenie was a member of the marching team, which took her down to Melbourne, Australia, and around the Queensland area as well. She was part of the team that won the Australian Championships in 1960. The events leading up to her injustice and murder. So Queenie Hart, the victim, she died and was murdered on April 1975 on the banks of the Fitzroy River, the large waterway that runs through Rockhampton, Australia. The local newspaper in the area on the front page covered of their news read this caption: "The body of a murdered woman who was found among river mangroves close to the city." They listed graphic details of her injuries on her death. The police believed that she had been the victim of a sadistic, evil killer. She was 28 years old at the time of her murder. A few months later, the suspected sadistic killer, a white Australian man who was the last person to ever see Queenie alive, would have all charges of murder dropped against him. By the time the man fronted court, he was no longer a sadist. He was just a hard-working white man. The courts and newspaper labeled Queenie a Aboriginal black prostitute, despite there being absolutely no evidence at all to suggest she was ever a sex worker in any way. The media and news coverage of her case said that she was held responsible for her own murder and that she did this to herself, not only because of her alleged occupation. They kept claiming she was a sex worker with no evidence, but also because she was an Aboriginal black woman. The newspaper continually called her colored or dark-skinned prostitute. There was no mention that she was waka waka, that she was well loved, or that she was sorely missed by all of her friends and family. Her mother tried to get her daughter back home to be buried in her homeland. She was denied permission for no reason. Janie would never see her daughter return to her. For over 40 years, Queenie has been in an unmarked grave in Rockhampton, so far from her homeland and her family and friends. Her mother learned about Queenie's death through the newspaper. She had welcomed a police detective into her home who wanted to help identify the body. When the detective asked her what she remembered, she said that Queenie had a beautiful tattoo on the left side of her ankle. It was a nice little chain with bells on her ankle. The descriptions of Queenie as a dark-skinned prostitute were painful to her family and those who knew her. The way they described her as a prostitute could not be further from the truth. The media was victim blaming her the whole entire time, as well as racial, hate crimes in there as well. They kept calling her dark-skinned. This is just an act of pure violent injustice. The person who murdered her got away with it, and the person who allegedly murdered her got away with it because he's white, and not only that, but like the media is literally saying that she's responsible for her own murder when she's not. That's victim blaming. In the Charenvogue Cemetery, there's a plot set aside for the Hart family. Queenie's 8 siblings are buried there, as well as her mom and dad. Her family keep a spot for Queenie, and they're trying to save the funds required to bring her back home. In life, she was never alone, but for 40 years, she has been among strangers in an unmarked grave in Rockhampton, not close to her friends and family. If you guys like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye guys, see you next video.